All right, music fans, get ready, cause today we are going deep, deep into some seriously cool music theory.
Oh, yeah.
Chord-scale theory.
I like it.
This stuff is like the secret sauce behind jazz harmony.
Absolutely.
Awesome guitar solos.
Yeah.
And even pop music.
It's everywhere once you start to hear it.
So if you've ever wanted to understand how those complex chords and melodies actually work, then this is the deep dive for you.
This is it.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics. What exactly is a chord scale?
Okay, so imagine you have a chord, right?
Right.
Like a C major chord.
Yep.
It's a stack of notes played together.
Got it.
A chord scale takes those notes and kind of stretches them out into a scale.
Okay.
It reveals all the different notes and tensions that are kind of hiding inside that chord.
So you're like taking a vertical chord and turning it horizontal, giving us more notes to play with.
More possibilities.
More possibilities.
Yeah, our source material defines it as a linear rendering of a complex chord with tensions and non-chord tones arrayed within an octave.
Whoa. Okay, that's a mouthful.
It is a little bit, yeah.
So in simpler terms, it's like a roadmap showing us all the notes we could use when we're playing that specific chord.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, cool.
And they're actually the different types of chord scales.
Oh, really?
You have what are called diatonic chord scales,
Okay.
which are like notes that come from the key that you're already in.
Okay.
So like if you're in C major,
Right.
a diatonic chord scale would use only notes from the C major scale.
Gotcha. So it stays within that key.
Exactly.
Oh.
And then you have chromatic chord scales.
Ooh, chromatic.
Those are a little more adventurous.
Okay.
They bring in notes from outside the key, which can add a lot of complexity
Right.
and sometimes a little dissonance.
It's a little spice.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned tensions earlier
Yes.
and non-chord tones.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly are those?
So think of it like building a chord, right?
Okay.
You got your core notes,
Uh-huh.
the ones that like make the chord what it is.
Okay.
Those are your chord tones.
Right, so like the essential ingredients,
Well,
like
yeah.
flour and eggs in a cake.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then you have extensions,
Okay.
which are notes that add extra flavor and richness.
So like the spices.
Exactly.
Okay.
You don't need them for the cake to exist,
Right.
but they make it interesting.
They give it that special something.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And some of those extensions create what we call tensions.
Okay.
So think about like a bluesy note that resolves really nicely back to the chord.
Ooh, yeah. Sure.
So it's not that it sounds B-a-D,
right.
it's that it creates this like yearning to resolve back to the chord.
Okay, so it creates a little drama, a
Exactly.
little tension and release.
Yeah. And then non-chord tones,
Yeah.
they're kind of like notes that are passing through.
Right.
They're on their way to somewhere else.
They just add a little melodic interest.
Like a little detour on a road trip.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So you got your chord tones,
Yeah.
you got your tensions,
Uh-huh.
and you got your non-chord tones.
Got it.
So how do you figure out which notes belong in a specific chord scale?
Right, there's like a formula or a cheat sheet or something?
Well, there are a few methods.
Okay.
One of the most popular ones is called the Berklee method.
Berklee method.
Yeah, and it's really cool because it labels each note in the scale based on its function
Okay.
within the chord.
That sounds very organized.
It's very visual.
Okay.
So you'll see like a scale written out,
Uh-huh.
and each note will have a label.
Okay.
It's like an open note head means it's a chord tone,
Okay.
or a tension that sounds good against the chord.
Gotcha.
And then a darkened note head means it's like an avoid note,
Okay.
one that might clash a little bit if you hold it for too long.
So it's like a warning sign.
Exactly.
Like, hey, careful with this one.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. So let's look at an example.
Okay.
Let's take the C Ionian scale, which is just the good old C major scale.
Perfect.
C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C.
Mm-hmm.
So let's analyze it as a chord scale for a C major 7th chord.
Okay.
So C major scale, C Maj 7 chord, sounds like a good starting point.
Yeah, it's a good place to start.
Okay.
So the notes C, E, G, and B,
Uh-huh.
those are our chord tones.
Right, because those make up the C Maj 7 chord itself.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then we have D, F, and A.
Yeah.
Those are our available tensions.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm a little confused. Why are those tensions?
Okay.
They're all in the C major scale.
What?
Shouldn't they all sound fine?
They do all sound good within the key EY of C major.
Right.
But remember, we're thinking about how these notes relate specifically to the C Mach 7 chord.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So even though they're in key,
Mm-hmm.
they still add something a little extra
They do.
to that specific chord.
Exactly.
Got it.
So D is our ninth.
Okay.
F is the 11th, and A is the 13th.
Okay.
And those add a lot of color and complexity.
So if I was improvising a solo over a C Maj 7 chord,
Yeah.
I could use any of those notes and it would sound pretty good.
You could.
Okay.
The C Ionian scale doesn't have any avoid notes
Okay.
when you pair it with a C Maj 7 chord.
Gotcha.
It's a very consonant,
Okay.
safe combination.
So every core has its own chord scale.
Yeah.
And some might be trickier than others.
Exactly.
And that's where this Berklee method comes in handy.
It does.
It helps map it all out.
It maps it out.
So we know what we're working with.
Exactly.
All right, I think I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
This Berklee method seems like a really useful tool for making sense of these chord scales.
Absolutely.
But how does this all translate into like
Yeah.
actual music?
Right. It's one thing to know the theory,
Right.
but then hearing it in action is really where the magic happens.
Yeah, exactly. Can we maybe dissect a song or two and like see how these chord scales are working behind the scenes?
Absolutely. Let's take a classic like Autumn Leaves.
Okay.
It's a jazz standard.
Okay.
And the chord changes move through a bunch of different keys,
Okay.
each with its own set of chord scales.
So when jazz musicians are improvising over Autumn Leaves, they're actually like thinking about these chord scales.
They are.
In real time.
Yeah, that's how they choose the notes for their solos.
Whoa.
They're not just playing random notes.
Right.
They're drawing from the chord scale
Okay.
that fits each chord.
As it comes along.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like they're having a conversation with the chord changes.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a great way to put it.
They're responding to each chord with like notes from its corresponding scale.
Exactly. And it's not just in jazz either.
Oh, really?
Think about a pop song like Someone Like You by Adele.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah.
Okay.
The chorus has a pretty simple chord progression, moving between the 1, 4, and 5 chords in A major.
Okay.
But Adele's melody perfectly outlines the chord scales that go with those chords.
So even though it's a pop song, she's still using these theoretical concepts to make that melody work so well with the chords?
Yeah, when the song hits that 4 chord, the D major,
right,
the melody emphasizes notes from the D mixolydian scale.
Hold on, D mixolydian? Isn't that one of the more like complex scales we talked about?
It's got that major sound, but with a flatted 7th.
Right.
Gives it a little bluesy edge.
Okay.
And it just so happens to fit perfectly.
Wow.
Over a D major chord in the key of A.
Okay, so it's like these scales are like the secret ingredient.
They are.
That makes certain melodies work so well over specific chords.
That's the beauty of it, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Chord scale theory helps us understand why certain musical choices just feel right.
This is seriously blowing my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like starting to hear music in a whole new way.
It's a powerful tool.
Now, I'm curious though, you mentioned like missing notes earlier.
Oh, yeah.
How does that fit into all of this?
Well, remember, a chord scale shows us all the possible notes we could play over a given chord.
Right.
But musicians don't always play every single note in the scale.
Right. They're not just like running up and down the scales all the time.
Exactly. But even when some notes are missing, our ears still kind of perceive that underlying chord scale.
Oh, interesting.
It's like we fill in the blanks based on the context and our knowledge of music.
So it's like our brains are doing subconscious chord scale analysis.
Kind of.
In real time, even if we don't realize it.
Exactly. And that's why chord scale theory is so powerful.
Right.
It gives us a framework for understanding those subconscious processes and making more deliberate musical choices.
I'm starting to see how knowing this stuff could help me become a better musician.
Absolutely.
Even if I'm not trying to be like a jazz virtuoso.
Right. It doesn't matter what style you're into.
Yeah.
Understanding chord scales can really help.
Okay.
Whether you're writing songs, improvising, or just trying to understand your favorite music better.
I feel like I've learned so much already.
Good.
But I know there's still a ton more to explore.
Oh, yeah.
What are some of the like key takeaways we should keep in mind as we continue our deep dive?
Well, first and foremost, remember that chord scale theory is a tool, not a set of rigid rules.
Gotcha.
It's meant to help you make sense of music.
Yeah.
Not to limit your creativity.
So it's like a guide.
Yeah.
Not a rule book.
Exactly. It can help you make informed choices.
Right.
But ultimately, it's up to you how you want to use those choices.
To create something unique.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I was getting a little worried that it might like turn music into like a math equation or something.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But the real beauty lies in its ability to unlock new possibilities for musical expression.
Yeah.
It's like learning a new language.
Okay.
That allows you to communicate in a more nuanced and sophisticated way.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing the right words. It's about knowing how to use them to tell a compelling story.
I love it.
Yeah.
But one thing that I find really fascinating is that this language is constantly evolving.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, contemporary musicians are increasingly using what we call non-diatonic chord scales.
Non-diatonic. What does that mean?
So these are scales that incorporate notes from outside the key, creating more complex and colorful harmonies.
So they're like breaking the rules.
Kind of.
That we talked about earlier.
In a way, yeah.
Interesting.
They're taking the basic principles of chord-scale theory and pushing them in new directions.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Think about a song like Royals by Lord.
Oh, yeah.
The chorus moves between an E minor chord and a C major chord.
Okay, that's not a chord change you hear every day.
It's not very common.
No.
But the melody that Lord sings over those chords doesn't strictly follow the E Phrygian scale, which would be the typical choice for an E minor chord.
Oh, okay.
Instead, she uses chromatic passing tones and blue notes, which creates a really unique and haunting sound.
So she's bending the rules.
Yeah.
But it works because she's doing it intentionally.
Exactly.
And creating something really cool.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it.
And that's what makes music so endlessly fascinating.
Right.
It's constantly evolving, constantly being reinvented.
Yeah.
And chord scale theory gives us this framework for understanding and appreciating those innovations.
Yeah, it's like we've uncovered this hidden language of music, but now we're seeing how artists are using it to create their own dialects and slang.
Yeah.
There are endless possibilities.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
The more you explore chord scale theory, the more you'll start to hear those possibilities in the music all around you.
Wow, my brain is still processing all that.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think about how much is going on underneath the surface of the music we hear every day.
It's like a whole other world.
Yeah. And the more you dig into chord scale theory, the more it feels like there's this secret code embedded in music.
Absolutely.
Just waiting to be deciphered.
Waiting to be unlocked.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we've been given this key to unlock a whole new dimension of listening.
I love that analogy.
But it's more than just analysis, right? It's a tool for creation, too.
It is. It's incredibly powerful for that.
So understanding these chord scales can actually make you a better musician.
Absolutely.
Whether you're composing, arranging, or improvising.
It gives you so much control.
Yeah, it's like having a roadmap instead of just wandering around in the dark.
Exactly. You know what you're doing.
Right. You know which notes to play.
You have a plan.
To create a specific effect.
Yeah, whether it's tension or resolution.
Or something completely out there.
Or something totally unexpected.
Yeah, and it's not just about following rules, is it?
Right.
We've seen how musicians bend and break those rules
all the time
to create something new and innovative.
That's the exciting part.
So chord scale theory provides like a foundation.
It does.
But it doesn't stifle creativity.
Not at all.
It's like any language, it evolves. It adapts as musicians kind of push the boundaries.
Yeah, they're constantly exploring.
And explore new sonic landscapes. Yeah. It's a living, breathing system.
It is.
You know?
It's constantly changing.
It's not just some dusty old textbook concept.
No, not at all.
It's relevant today.
Very much so.
And it connects us to the music of the past, but also points us towards the future
of a bridge
of musical expression.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like we've been given this glimpse behind the curtain.
Yeah.
But now we get to contribute to the show.
Exactly. And that's what I hope you take away from this deep dive.
Yeah.
It's not just about understanding music.
Right.
It's about being able to participate.
Yeah.
In this ongoing conversation.
Of musical creation.
Yeah.
This has been an incredible journey.
It has.
And I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Oh, there's so much more.
But as we wrap up, what's like one key takeaway you'd like listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is to listen with intention.
Okay.
Pay attention to the chord changes, to the melodies, the interplay between different instruments.
Okay.
See if you can identify the chord scales at work.
Even if we don't know all the names yet.
Even if you don't know all the names.
So train our ears to recognize those patterns.
the relationships between the notes.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Please experiment.
Try playing different scales over different chords.
See what sounds good to you.
See what feels right.
What creates the mood.
What creates the emotion.
Yeah.
It's all about exploration.
It is.
And discovery.
Have fun with it.
You know?
Yeah. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be hearing your music on the radio.
Right, infused with all this newfound knowledge.
That would be awesome.
But even if you're not aspiring to be like the next Mozart, Miles Davis, or whoever.
Doesn't matter.
Chord-scale theory can still enrich your musical life in countless ways.
It's a gift.
It really is. It's like we've been given this incredible gift, and now it's up to us to unwrap it and explore it.
Well said.
You know?
I think it's time to wrap up.
Okay.
Our deep dive into chord-scale theory.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this fascinating world.
It's been my pleasure.
You know, I feel like
Good.
I have a whole new appreciation for the music I love.
I'm glad to hear that.
You know?
And remember, the journey doesn't end here.
Right.
Keep those ears open.
Keep listening.
Keep those minds engaged.
Yeah.
And never stop exploring the magic of music.
Until next time.
Yes.
Happy listening, everyone.